Today we are making Peach's cake from Mario 64 to celebrate the new Super Mario Bros. Movie not actually sucking that much. All jokes aside, I really did enjoy it, and I think this cake is a pretty fun way to celebrate the OG of Short Kings getting a pretty fun movie. Because God knows that no matter how many times Mario saves the Mushroom Kingdom, he'll never get his mushroom in Princess Peach's Peaches. At least he got a cake though, but not those cakes. To start, we work with the strawberries. I originally wanted to make this a peach cake because I thought Mario deserved peaches in at least one way or another, but those were in another castle because apparently it's not peach season at the time of filming this. So we're going with strawberries because Peach decorated the cake with them. First, wash the strawberries and then cut the tops off. From there, we start macerating our strawberries. And before you say so, no, it is not that word you're thinking of. Add sugar to the strawberries and then mix them around so that each strawberry is coated with sugar. Cover and then place in the fridge overnight. You'll notice when the strawberries are done when you see a red syrup in the bowl along with the strawberries. Enjoy a strawberry, then strain the syrup. Keep the syrup and the strawberries in separate containers and then keep them both in the fridge. We'll be needing them later. For the cake, we'll be making a light and fluffy sponge cake. Now, I'm not usually the type to be a stickler for having everything measured exactly to the gram when it comes to cooking. Because for a home cook, everything's based on the taste of the individuals. So I usually say adjust the recipe to your taste. But with baking, it's a science. As little as a few grams can make a huge difference in the final dish. So do try to measure it out, or if you don't have a scale, I will have some freedom measurements in the recipe as well. To start with the sponge cake, whisk together baking powder, cornstarch, salt, and soft flour or cake flour. Then set that mixture to the side. From here, we separate our egg yolks and egg whites. My preferred method is to crack all of the eggs in a bowl and then dig them out and individually separate them in between my fingers. Now, using an electric mixer, foam up the egg whites till they're about triple the size. You could also whisk this by hand if you hate yourself for whatever reason, but I think I'll stick with the mixer. Once peaks start to form, add the sugar and whisk until you get stiff peaks. It should take about 5-ish minutes. Now, this is what makes a sponge cake so light and fluffy compared to a normal cake. Sponge cakes use air whipped in the egg whites to make the cake rise, making a very light and fluffy cake compared to a slightly denser cake you'd see using baking soda or baking powder. So, this is all to say, be very careful with that bowl. Now that that's clear, onto the yolks. Add the rest of the sugar and a neutral oil and then whisk until all combined. I also added a little secret of mine, toasted milk powder. A little goes a long way, and it gives the final cake a slight caramel-like flavor. It's really nice and you'll start smelling it in the batter. From here, use a flexible spatula and take about 1/4 of the egg whites and then fold it into the egg yolk mixture until fully incorporated. Now add in 1/3 of the flour mixture and then fold that into the egg mixture. Repeat this process until you fully have everything mixed in together. Be very, very careful here. We don't want to deflate the egg whites too much or the cake just won't rise. And you will have just wasted about an hour of your life for nothing. You'll notice that even though there's a lot of batter, it's actually very light and fairly bubbly. From here, pour the batter into a sheet pan. Hold up. So I realized after I made this that it might have actually been easier and better to just pour the cake batter directly into the actual cake molds instead of using the cake molds to cut out rings of the cake. Probably would have risen more too. But hey, you live and learn. Once the batter is evenly spread, place it on a 350-degree oven for about 15 minutes or 24 minutes if you use the cake mold thing I just mentioned. Let the cake cool, and then we're now going to focus on the cream. Instead of a buttercream, we're going to be using something known as a stabilized whipped cream, which is much more commonly used for cakes in Asian bakeries. Because in the eternal words of Asian grandmas everywhere, it's not too sweet. If an old Asian lady says that about your dessert, it's like giving a Michelin star, I swear. So, to start with this not too sweet cream, we bloom some gelatin. This is what allows the whipped cream to be stable enough to be using it like a frosting or a buttercream. While the gelatin blooms, whisk the whipping cream until you realize that you can use an electric mixer and it would make your life a lot easier. And yes, I am aware that the cream is flying everywhere. And no, I do not care. I'll clean it later. Once the cream hits a soft peak, add powdered sugar and the gelatin, then continue to whisk until you get stiff peaks. You can also flavor the cream with vanilla or whatever you'd like, but I personally left it as is. Now to put everything together, prepare your cake by cutting out circles with the cake mold. And then to build the cake, we start by brushing the strawberry syrup and then adding a layer of whipped cream. Follow that with the strawberries and then finally added some more whipped cream. And then finally top the layer with more cake and then brush that top with some more syrup. From here, skewer the center of the cake and then add these smaller cake circles, and in between each circle, repeat the filling process until you get to the third layer. Cover the cake with a thin coat of cream, to the best of your abilities, and then place in the fridge for about 30-ish minutes. This is called a crumb coat. It helps to ensure that crumbs will be anchored in place with the cream. After about 30 minutes, add the final layer of cream all around the cake and try your best to get an even surface throughout the whole cake. Then use a piping bag to decorate the tops of the cake. The tops don't really have to be that great since they're going to be covered with strawberries anyways. Also, it is an all-white cake, so it's harder to notice the mistakes. I tried to add the cherries on top, but fresh cherries are not in season either, and the cocktail ones didn't really look great on the cake. They kind of just fell off, literally. I tried my best to pipe thank you on the chocolate bar, but this is all I could do. And I was also running out of cream, so we're just gonna go with it. I'm not the best at cake decorating. Not gonna lie, the cake's a little lopsided. But, to be fair, so is Mario and Peach's relationship. So, it kinda works. But there you go, Peach's Cake from Mario 64, a light and fluffy, not too sweet reward for the hero of the Mushroom Kingdom. And totally the reward he was looking for. Hey, at least the cake's good. So I just noticed something and I wanted to point it out. Mario will always be there for Peach, be friendly, and always do his best to be Peach's knight in shining armor, while most of the time not really getting anything in return. Mario's a f***ing simp.